Welcome back to the FEL Engine project, where I'm building a 3.5 inch gauge live steam locomotive to my own drawings. On this episode, I thought we'd take a quick look at the materials used for the construction of the project. As I'm building my locomotive from scratch, I'm not planning on using any castings, so all the parts are cut out of raw material such as plate and bar. There's a few parts that are easier purchased than made, and we'll get to those at the end. Now onto the materials. First up we have mild steel, which I'm using for the frame, wheels, axles and many other parts. This is mostly purchased in 6 metre lengths or full sheets for plate. Next up we have cast iron. This is used for the cylinders and pistons as its porous structure allows oil to be retained and aid in lubrication. This was difficult to get here in small quantities and ended up purchasing it from the UK and Australia. Silver steel, also known as tool steel, is used for some of the wear parts such as pins, which are highly susceptible to wear. I also got this from the UK. I'm using stainless steel for some of the small shafts, and I'll also be using some tube for the superheater when we get to the boiler. This is readily available, but I actually ended up picking this stuff up from China, as it's pretty cost effective for the small amount I needed. Next up we have brass, which is used for the axle boxes, bushings and crossheads. This is used due to its resistance with binding with steel in these applications. It will also be used for some of the water valves, the cab, smoke box and side tanks. I even have a piece of plate here for the smoke box door. I sourced the brass from all over, with short bar and plate coming from China, ankles from the UK and sheet locally. Next up we have bronze, also known as gunmetal. This is used for the regulator and steam valves. Once again I ended up sourcing this from China. Next up on the list I've got some spring steel, which I'm planning to make some leaf springs out of. It came as a coil of clockwork spring, the required width for the leaf springs. I also have some glass tube which will be used for the water level gauges on the boiler. I picked this up from an Australian supplier. Next up we've got copper. This will be used for the construction of the boiler, which I'm yet to get materials for. And copper tube for the general piping, which you can see here. I've also picked up some PTFE, also known as TEFLON, which I'm planning to use to make some gland seals for the piston and valve rods. These are some stainless steel ball bearings that will be used inside the water valves. Next up we've got rivets, of which I've got copper for the boiler, steel for the frame, and some brass rivets for the bodywork. Now we're up to the items that are easier purchased than made, starting with these brass bevel and worm gears. These will be used for engaging the centre rail brakes and traction wheels. Next we have small ball joints, which will be used for the centre rail drive connecting and coupling rods, to allow for the movement of engaging the centre traction wheels. The final item is some small brass hinges, which will be used for the centre cylinder access panel located in front of the smoke box. And that concludes today's look at the materials used in the construction of this project. As you can see, there's a lot of different materials required, with many of them being difficult to locate locally and the small quantities required. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Catch you next time.